What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's episode is going to be all about college football. I'm going to be previewing the upcoming 2021 football season. I'm going to be giving my thoughts on what I think is going to happen. But before we get into that, the first order of business, obviously, as you can tell by the screen, is to look at the potential expansion proposal and how that pertains to this season. And just a spoiler alert, that's not going to happen in 2021. That's not going to happen in 2022. The earliest it's going to happen is 2023, and it looks like they're leading towards a 12-team playoff. So I didn't want to get to the end of the video and have people in the comments be like, hey, well, they're probably going to be expanding the playoff. That's not happening this year. So obviously, I've just done a 14 playoff in my predictions. But just for fun, here's what the playoff would have looked like last year had the 12-team system been in play. And I'll let you guys pause if you want to take a look at this bracket. Honestly, I still think that Alabama, clearly the best team in the country, would have gone on to win. But that being said, it would have been interesting to see how Coastal Carolina could have fared. Maybe Cincinnati, under the pressure of a playoff, actually beats Georgia, because Cincinnati had Georgia on the ropes for a while. They kind of let their foot off the gas, let it slip away. But yeah, overall, there's not too much depth to this, guys. It's just, this is what it would have looked like. This is what's probably going to be the format from here going forward. They'll just take the top 12 teams, and that'll be that. So anyways, moving into the main purpose of this video, guys, my predictions for this upcoming NFL season. Here I'm going to be giving a rundown on who I would have in my preseason top 25. I've developed a computer program that can rank these teams, and this is what it spit out. Obviously, I get to decide what's most important with this setting, but the biggest thing is that how many starters do they have returning? That's a big factor, like how beneficial are the starters that they have returning, stuff like that, as well as compared to their performance from last year. Can they build on it? Are they going to regress? You know. So let's start off with the honorable mentions here. The first team being Penn State. Penn State was a team that had a bad year last year, but they return a lot of their starters. Sean Clifford, we'll see if he can have a bounce back year at quarterback. He never was really anything more for them than a game manager, but it really can't get worse for them compared to last year, offensively at least. So I think that Penn State is going to be a much improved team and one of the better teams in their division in the Big Ten. Another team, LSU, once again, didn't live up to their billing last year after winning the national championship and everything. They went 5-5, but I do believe that Miles Brennan, or Max Johnson, but I feel like Miles Brennan is the guy at LSU. He was putting up incredible numbers before he ended up getting hurt last year. So with him at quarterback, LSU's returning some very good talent, especially on defense with Derek Stingley. And supposedly they're going to be using it wide receiver too, which is going to be interesting. But I think that LSU is a formidable team, and they're going to sneak up on some people this year. And Ole Miss, one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the country, led by quarterback Matt Corral, although they do lose receiver Elijah Moore. If their defense is even average, Ole Miss could be a top 10 team. And I'm not even kidding you guys. They're that stacked. Lane Kiffin is a fantastic coach, and I do believe that at some point he will be the first Saban assistant to beat Saban. He's the only one that I think is capable of actually pulling that off, but that's not going to be this year. So into the top 25, number 25, Oregon. I felt like they had to be in the top 25. I felt like they deserved that. I mean, they're the two-time reigning Pac-12 champion. They've played in back-to-back New Year's Six bowl games, although they technically weren't deserving last year. They ended up finishing the year 4-3 and unranked. But there's a lot to like about this Oregon team, especially defensively, I'd say. But offensively, the quarterback controversy with Tyler Shuck transferring and Anthony Brown not exactly being the guy that they thought that they were getting with him. I don't know. I think Oregon's got some potential here, but they're by no means the best team in the Pac-12. But I think that what they've done over years past warrants a top 25 ranking. Number 24, Oklahoma State, losing a lot of talent with Tylan Wallace, Chuba Hubbard heading to the NFL, but Spencer Sanders, their quarterback, returns. They've got a much improved defense. I think that Oklahoma State is going to once again be a tough out in the Big 12, but I also don't think that they're going to be pushing teams like Oklahoma or Iowa State around. I mean, not that they have in years past, but I think that they're deserving of the top 25 spot like Oregon based on what they've done in the past, but this is by no means the most talented Oklahoma State team we've ever seen. 23, Arizona State. This is a team I'm super pumped about. Jaden Daniels, maybe the most underrated quarterback in the country. Herm Edwards, amazing coach. We got a small sample size of Arizona State last year. They went 2-2 over 4 games, but easily could have gone 4-0. I like the Sun Devils. They're going to be one of the better teams in the Pac-12. And unlike Oregon and Oklahoma State, who I think could maybe underperform where I have them right here in this preseason poll, I think that Arizona State is going to finish higher ranked than 23. I think that they're a good enough team. And honestly, they're going to sneak up on some people because Arizona State hasn't been good for a couple years. So we'll see how that goes. Number 22, TCU, a team that went 6-4 quietly last year. They were a lot better than people give them credit for. Dugan, their quarterback, honestly, if he can bring a little bit more consistency into his game, he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, and TCU will be riding high. I don't think that they're a super popular pick to have in a preseason top 25, but I think that TCU has enough potential here. And this, like I said, this ranking is based on potential and what they can do, but the jury's out. We'll see how TCU is going to perform when the season rolls around. Number 21, Wisconsin. Hopefully they can have a bounce back year. I mean, last year I think was a fluke, them going 4-3, really struggling, especially offensively. Paul Crisp is a quarterback whisperer. Graham Mertz is the most talented quarterback he's gotten to work with since Russell Wilson was at Wisconsin. So look for the Badgers to have a good bounce back season. Moving into the top 20, number 20 is Miami. All signs show that De'Aaron King is going to be ready to go week 1. So hopefully he's not hobbled or anything, because a healthy Miami team is going to be one of the better teams at the ACC. I mean, obviously they're not Clemson or even North Carolina, but they're still going to be a consistent top 25 team throughout the year that could maybe push for a New Year's Six bowl bid. Manny Diaz has this program going in the right direction, but they just don't have the top level talent at this point to compete with the best of the conference. Number 19, Liberty. They had a fantastic year last year. Malik Willis and Hugh Freeze have that thing rolling. But here's the thing. Liberty's going to play a terrible schedule. Their only game of note is against Coastal Carolina. They're ranked number 19 because of their soft schedule. If they go 11-1, they'll stay ranked. I think that Liberty has the talent to be in the top 25. But guys, keep in mind that this is a preseason top 25, and there could end up being a lot of movement as the season goes. 18 is Washington. Washington only played 4 games last year, went 3-1, and technically they were the Pac-12 North Division champions, but because of COVID issues, Oregon actually got to take their place in the Pac-12 title game. I think that Washington has a lot more going for them heading into this next year. I think that Washington's a more talented overall team than Oregon. That's why they're ranked a little bit higher. They should be the team to beat in the Pac-12 North Division, and honestly could be pushing 9-10 wins when it's all said and done. 17 is Texas. The cupboard is far from bare in Austin. I don't think that Tom Herman necessarily deserved to be fired. I mean, after all, they had 3 straight top 25 seasons under him. Yes, Alamo Bowls aren't necessarily going to cut it, but when you compare it to what they were like before, I do think that Tom Herman had something going there. He had a lot of talent. No, he wasn't the best at developing it, but I do believe that Steve Sarkisian will be a slight upgrade in that department. The man is a fantastic coach. He is amazing at developing talent. And Texas, honestly, they were going to be shaping up to be that 3rd best team in the Big 12 going into this next year, because behind Iowa State and Oklahoma, there's not really a top-end team, and Texas could be the guys to give them a run for their money, especially with Sark, the offense that he ran at Alabama. He's going to be bringing a similar style to Texas, obviously. It's going to be exciting to watch, and I think that Texas could sneak up on some people. Number 16, Coastal Carolina. The Mullets are back, baby. They're going to be riding high into this next season. They won 11 games last year, and I think that they could easily do that again. Liberty and Louisiana are going to be some tough teams that they're going to have to play this year, but they beat both of them. Well, they didn't play Liberty last year. They played BYU in their place, but they probably would have beaten Liberty in the regular season. I know they lost in the bowl game, but that was after getting snubbed from a New Year's Six and all that jazz. I think the Coastal Carolina's got a lot of talent. I believe that they're going to be a consistent top 25 team throughout the year. As will Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, under Billy Napier with Levi Lewis at quarterback. Just like Coastal Carolina, they're going to be another top 25 team throughout the season. Except I think that Louisiana has a little bit more potential going into this next season. That's why I've ranked them higher than their Sun Belt counterpart. I believe that Louisiana is going to be the biggest threat to Cincinnati to potentially take away that New Year's Six Bowl automatic qualifier for the group of 5. Number 14, Florida, losing a ton of talent. Guys like Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney to the NFL. The offense is going to be different looking. It's going to be more of a power run scheme, which is different for Dan Mullen. But Emory Jones is going to do a fantastic job, I believe, in commanding that offense. He strikes me as like a Cam Newton type of athlete. He's a bigger guy. He's very mobile. He's got a big arm as well. I like what Florida is going to be building here over the next couple of years, but this is not their year to compete in the SEC or even the SEC. Georgia is just too good, and Bama is going to be too good overall. Look for Florida next year to be maybe even a top 5 team, but not this year. Number 13 is Indiana. Coming in after one of the best seasons they've had in the past couple decades. Indiana looks to build on that. If Michael Penix Jr. comes back and is healthy, they are not going to miss a beat. Indiana's going to even be better, I think. I think that they're really out to prove that this wasn't a one-year wonder, and I don't see any reason why. They're returning most of their talent, and they ran through the Big Ten East with the exception of Ohio State last year. I don't see any reason why they can't do that again. Number 12 is Iowa. One of the more underrated teams in this country. I think that Iowa is going to probably be pushing 10 wins. Their schedule is weak enough that they honestly could even have 11 wins going into the Big Ten championship game. Now, they don't have necessarily the top-end talent that you'd look for a team that's going to be pushing for the playoff. Iowa has a schedule to do it, but the reason why they're number 12 is I just don't necessarily know if they quite have the game changers to get them over the top. Number 11, USC. They're going to be the class of the Pac-12. Keaton Slovis is going to be a Heisman finalist for them. The Trojans have a lot in their favor, and honestly, they're going to have to be the team to really try to push to get the Pac-12 back in the playoff. I don't think it's going to work, but USC is going to have to put the Pac-12 on their back because there's nobody else that really has the talent to compete with the other Power 5 conferences and their top-end teams. Number 10, North Carolina. Sam Howell, Mac Brown, it's humming. It's humming at North Carolina and Chapel Hill, man. I like what I'm seeing from this team. They gave Texas A&M a run for their money last year in the Orange Bowl. And I really think that North Carolina is going to push Clemson. They could almost have an undefeated season in the regular season because the toughest team that they got is Miami. That's a very winnable game. They don't play Clemson until necessarily the ACC championship game. North Carolina is a team that you could see maybe climbing this list as the year goes on. Number 9 is going to be Iowa State. Similar situation to North Carolina, but with Breece Hall and Brock Purdy, they're a little bit more talented, and their defense, I'd say, is even a little bit better. Iowa State has a very good defense, very solid. Matt Campbell's a great coach. Shocked he didn't leave, but glad he didn't to kind of ride this out and see where things are going to be going at Iowa State. They almost beat Oklahoma last year in the Big 12 title game. I believe it could happen this year. Number 8, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's always going to be around a top 10 team. They lost a ton of talent, more so than any other team in the top 25, but they also dominated the transfer portal, especially getting Jack Cohn to pair with Kyron Williams in the backfield there at Notre Dame. They're going to be very formidable. Jack Cohn has a better arm than Ian Book. They're going to open up the playbook a little bit more. I think that Notre Dame has a lot to like. They could end up falling a little bit lower on the list, but I think that Notre Dame is going to surprise some people this year. Same thing with Texas A&M. They lost Kellen Mond, enter Haynes King. A&M's not going to necessarily miss a beat. I think that they're still going to be they're going to be a heavyweight over there in the SEC West. And Cincinnati's going to come in at number 6, the highest ranked group of 5 team thus far, and they will be the highest ranked group of 5 team. In my preseason top 25, I think that Cincinnati has the best chance a group of 5 team has ever had to make the playoff because they have non-conference games against Notre Dame and Indiana. If they win both of those games soundly, they're probably going to pick up a top 25 win or 2 in the American because there seem to always be a couple top 25 teams in that conference. Cincinnati could very well make their own case by the time this is all said and done. Number 5, Ohio State. Losing a lot of talent. Justin Fields, Trey Sermon. That's going to hurt them a lot. They're very good at developing talent at Ohio State, but this is going to be a big year for Ryan Day. This is his 3rd year. The 3rd year is really the biggest for any head coach because this is where you really start to get your guys in the system. What kind of coach is Ryan Day going to be from here on out? We will see, but I think that Ohio State is going to be good as always. Number 4, Clemson. DJ Uiagalelei going to take over for Trevor Lawrence. They're not going to miss much of a beat. The Tigers are one of the best at replacing talent, as they've lost a lot of it over the years. So I think that 4 is a reasonable spot for them. Georgia. Probably the most talented team in the SEC, especially with JT Daniels at quarterback. That defense that they've got going. I like Georgia a lot. If there's going to be a year for them to beat Alabama, this is going to be it, because we're finally going to have the offense figure it out. Oklahoma is also another team that's going to be immensely better this year. Spencer Rattler with another year under his belt. Oklahoma is also saying that their defense is going to be the best it's ever been under Lincoln Riley. That's kind of scary to think, because Oklahoma, had they had a defense, they probably would have won a national championship here in the playoff era. They just couldn't stop anybody. And although I do think that Georgia and Oklahoma might be the most talented teams in the country, Alabama's number 1, because until somebody beats them, I will continue to put them there. I think that Alabama has been the best program at replacing talent over the last couple years. I think that Bryce Young is going to do an excellent job at quarterback for the Tide. Now, defensively, we'll see how they do, because they struggled at times last year, but they returned most of their starters, and they've got a lot of transfers to help bolster that unit. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for them. All right, so now on to conference championship picks. In the SEC, Bama over Georgia. Like I said just a couple seconds ago, until somebody proves that they can beat Alabama, I'm going to pick Alabama. I don't think that Georgia can do the job. They've had 2 very good opportunities in the past, failed both times, and like I said, this is the best chance Georgia's probably ever going to have under Kirby Smart to beat Alabama. That being said, history is not on the Bulldogs' side. I'm going to roll with the Tide. ACC, Clemson over North Carolina. Once again, North Carolina can give Clemson a run for their money, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Not this year, even though I think Sam Howell is going to win the Heisman. He's my favorite quarterback in the country, but Clemson is just too complete of a team. Big Ten, Ohio State, Iowa, same story. I love Iowa, but like I said earlier, they don't have the top-end talent to compete with a team like Ohio State. In a big game like this, Ohio State is tried and true. They'll get the job done. And Oklahoma will beat Iowa State in a classic Big 12 title game matchup. I think that Iowa State, of all of these teams, I think that Iowa State is actually the most likely to get the win in their conference championship versus one of the Big 4, as I call them, the 4 teams that have made the playoffs the most often. I like Iowa State, just not enough to get the job done. And in the Pac-12, USC, cream of the crop over there. They're going to beat Washington. But these 2 teams I anticipate are going to clearly be the 2 best teams in the Pac-12. Now, Arizona State could make some noise and maybe push USC in the Pac-12 South, but I don't think that Oregon's going to do the same to Washington. I just don't have that much faith in them. Moving on, bowl games. Let's pick some New Year's 6 action. USC is going to beat Iowa in the Rose Bowl. Keaton Slovis is the difference for USC. USC is going to win their 2nd Rose Bowl under Clay Helton. They're going to get their 2nd Pac-12 title under Clay Helton. He's going to silence the doubters finally, because I don't think that has ever really been. I don't think that he's ever deserved the slack that the flack that he's gotten, per se, from all the fans, all the analysts. He's done a good job at USC. If you remember what they were like before he got there, he's going to reward their patience, I believe, this season. Sugar Bowl, Georgia over Iowa State. Georgia's going to get another New Year's 6 bowl win. I love Iowa State, but they just don't have the talent to go toe-to-toe with Georgia. It's just not going to happen. As far as the Peach Bowl, Cincinnati's going to finally get that elusive New Year's 6 bowl win. They're going to beat North Carolina, top to bottom, Desmond Ridder and company. Just a little bit too much for North Carolina to handle, I feel like. So I'll take the Bearcats in this one. And in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, I'm actually going to take Notre Dame over Texas A&M. For one reason, Notre Dame is going to have a chip on their shoulder after what everybody's been saying about them over the last couple of years. They've lost a lot of these big games. Texas A&M is going to be a little bit more vulnerable this year without the experience of Kellen Mond at quarterback. I think that Notre Dame, with their transfers, with the experience that they've got, especially with Jack Cohn, Kyron Williams, I think Notre Dame has what it takes to get over the top and win this game. And as for the playoff, the Cotton Bowl, Oklahoma's going to beat Ohio State. Oklahoma, top to bottom, maybe the most talented team in the country, especially if their defense is going to be as advertised. They said it's improved. If it's truly as improved as they say it is, I do believe that Oklahoma is going to be a very formidable team. I think that this is the year that they finally get their first win in the college football playoff. Other matchup, we got Clemson and Alabama. Clemson's going to get the job done. I go to Alabama. So if anybody has the right to pick Alabama, it's me. But you know what? I have more faith in DJ Uiagalelei than I do in Bryce Young. Bryce Young has shown flashes, but at the same time, he has not shown just enough for me to think that he's going to come in and just light the world on fire instantaneously. I think that he's going to have a Jalen Hurts type of freshman year. He's going to be very prolific on the ground. He's got a big arm, but he's going to have some areas that he's going to have to improve, and I think that Clemson's going to be a little bit too complete of a team. They're going to get the job done. In national championship, Oklahoma's going to win their first in 20 years. They're going to beat Clemson because Spencer Rattler and company on offense, too much for anybody to handle this year. So I like Oklahoma. Bold pick, maybe, but I'm going to roll with it. Guys, let me know down in the comments how you feel. Did I do a good job with these predictions? Am I completely wrong? Obviously, keep it PG-13 in the comments. None of that crap. But you know, I do appreciate you guys watching this video, and I would love to have some interaction with you guys in the comments on what you think is going to happen. If you like this type of content, subscribe, hit the like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. Not going to hurt my feelings, okay? That's all I got today. Thanks for watching.